Don't you think it's about time for a podcast that's more fulfilling? One that's about the vibrant exchange of ideas and perspectives that happens when we actually come together. We got you covered. Welcome to the Deep Blue Project, where the depths of conversation meet the waves of personal experience. This is a real, raw, and unscripted show about everything from leadership lessons to self-awareness, wellness, and the latest current events. We cover it all. We have a rotating cast of guests as we share our personal stories, insights, and opinions on the issues that matter most. Plus, we have a blast while doing it. The Deep Blue Project. It's not just a podcast, it's an experience. And now your host, Chris Workman.
This week's episode of the Deep Blue Project podcast. I am your host, Chris Workman, and we have a great show for you today, one that I am truly excited for. One, because it's the very first one, and I hope you will enjoy. My guest today is a great friend and one of the reasons that you are hearing this podcast today. My special guest is my friend, Matt Davis, of True Bold Leadership, who has played a crucial part in my growth and desire to use this platform to spark conversations about things we need to talk about ourselves and our journey. What's up, my friend?
What's going on, my friend? That was quite an intro there, my friend.
Yeah, welcome to the first ever Deep Blue podcast.
I'm so excited that it's the very first one. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, this is it's really over the top for me that we have actually gotten here. It seems like we were having this conversation so long ago in the beginning of this journey.
You're exactly right. And you know, I always remember our journey starting like near an elevator or on an elevator in Fort in Lauderdale.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yes, it started way before that. When we finally met each other, and then this friendship has grown a long way. We've helped each other a lot. I mean, you've helped me a lot become a little bit better with myself and be able to feel less anxiety, feeling like I had to do things a perfect way. And I appreciate that from you. And I've learned that from you over the years, and I truly appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much. I think that goes both ways. You were super, like that first year we met at that first conference that we were at, you were going for a certain, you were trying to get voted in. We didn't win that year. We came back, got in over the next year with a plan.
Yep.
And ended up getting you voted in. So that was amazing. And, you're just one of these guys that just wants to continue working toward their goal. And that was your big goal of getting on that board. And I think it's really helped you grow as a person and helped a lot of other people reach for things that they maybe thought were unattainable for them in their career.
No, I appreciate that, my friend. Well, I want to get to the actual how we got here. So we both ended up in Fort Collins, Colorado. I think
yes, we did.
Yeah, at a cultural and diversity class, which was very interesting because it was the very first one. So
it was the very first one. You're exactly right.
And we actually ended up there together, which is kind of it's kind of poetic. I think you and I, as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of firsts for me that you have been very much involved with, and that continues with today.
Right. Super excited.
So we're sitting in Fort Collins, so everybody knows we were there, and we were sitting at the hotel bar, and it was late at night. We had just done dinner, and we just had this conversation, and that's where I had already had thought about doing this podcast. And here it is, almost a year, a little more than a year later. I mean, we're here.
Yes.
And I am so happy to have you here. I am so happy to have you here.
I think that night you were telling me about it, and I'm like, well, why the fuck are you not doing it?
Exactly. But I remember you start talking about your kind of thing also. I mean, so this wasn't a one-sided conversation, and you were alluding, I think, that night to your endeavor.
Yeah, I think that I think that night we were really talking more about. Um, I don't know if it was so much leadership driven, but it was a lot more about security consulting, things like that that I had been working on. Working on a business plan, that kind of thing for some classes. And in my journey of life, you know, leadership has become something that I'm very passionate about being able to talk with people about how to lead themselves. And that's where True Bold has come out of. So just like Deep Blue has come out of that conversation for you, True Bold has come out of that conversation for me. But the big deal is knowing that I was not alone in wanting to do something different and be out there and know that I had support from somebody was really what I come always come back to about that conversation, because it was just two friends sharing our dreams, and we didn't know exactly what they look like. And what our dreams are today might be different than what they are tomorrow. But it was just not feeling alone any longer, and knowing that we were gonna have support in going forward, and somebody to be our cheerleader if we needed one.
Much agreed, and there's no doubt, because I've been kind of, we talk a lot. So for the audience's sake, this is not a one-off conversation. Matt and I speak a lot about a lot of things over the years. We could probably sit here for 10 hours or more and just discuss things, but that's for some more podcasts later. We will we will bring that in. But yes, trying to keep myself on track and really getting this going is, I do have to give my friend you the props for that, and kind of just push me, just like, go do it, like, get it done, like, get that first one moving and out of the way, and it'll roll after that.
The worst one is always going to be the first one's always going to be the worst one. Like, that's what I keep telling myself as I've been guest on these podcasts. I don't know if I get any better, but I at least get a little less nervous every time about being out there and sharing my story and interacting with people. And that's the same thing. Like, I'm excited. I've got some leadership training that I've been that people have given me a thumbs up to do here in July, and it's just small steps going forward. And I think out of that night, that's really what we were talking about, is sort of like Atomic Habits and what that book says, just try to do 1% more each day. And I see that happening in your life, and I see that happening in my life, and a lot of our other friends that are out there trying to make a difference in the policing community. We're just trying to do a little bit more each day.
Right. And I think we build off of that together. So I really want to get into, because we have so many ways we can go with this podcast, but I really, really, really wanted to focus on this first one, of something that kind of helped you, though helped me, and maybe a lot of people jump off on this. And that was and it's right behind you on the wall. That's your believe mantra. That's your
Yes.
Ted Lasso believe mantra.
Yes.
And I would like you to kind of discuss with the audience, because I kind of know, but I believe that your journey into that believe mantra is something that should be shared with everyone. Because until you actually came up with that, I had never watched a Ted Lasso episode. I knew nothing at all about it. And I had heard bits and pieces, but mostly from you, about this show, and just that little word, believe.
Yeah. So I was trying to come up. I've been a big Simon Sinek fan for a long time, and you and I have talked about that ad nauseum, about my man crush I have on Simon Sinek and what he has to say on his books. He's right up there with my Eric Estrada man crush. So, knowing that why, and really being able to articulate that, and that just didn't I would go out and tell my why, but it seemed like there was a piece missing in that. And I really wanted to, so for class, for leadership class in college, I had to find either a movie or a TV show to do a paper on leadership style. And I'd seen Ted Lasso on my Apple TV, and I'm like, I've never watched it before. I'd seen some clips, and I'm like, hey, I sort of like the clips. I like some of the little quippy things that people put out there, so I'm going to watch this show. And I was very skeptical because the kind of shows, you know this about me, the kind of shows I like to watch are Parks and Rec, The Office, things like that are more comedy based. And this is a comedy show. But the amount of leadership things that Ted Lasso is doing in every episode, and his own struggle with his life journey, with the different struggles that he has, because I don't want to be a spoiler alert for people. He has all the things. He has struggles about being a parent. He has struggles about being a spouse, about being an ex-spouse. And he has struggles with childhood trauma around his parents. Like he fits the mold of everybody that we know, and he fits the mold for me because I've had a lot of those traumas in my life where when I've had to seek out therapy. So I really was looking for something, and I put this paper together, and my teacher was like, this is amazing. You need to go deeper into this. And so I just started putting pen to paper, and I just used BELIEVE as an acronym and tried to figure what I needed to. I wanted to show my teammates visually what they could expect of me and the leadership team, what they could expect of us, instead of having that one awkward briefing. You know this every year. You get new officers, new deputies, new people in your command, and you sit down and you say, these are Chris's rules, or these are Matt's rules, or that kind of thing. I wanted to flip the dynamic. So I went ahead and said, here's BELIEVE. We're going to break it down into 7 different things, and this is what you can expect of our leadership. Because most of the people that are on my team this year are later millennials, early Gen Zs. So why is important to them? High trust, all these things. I just decided that I was going to live and just take the mantra of, I want to be a transformational leader that puts a focus on building high trust environments. And I felt like Ted Lasso helped me do that. So it's a really long answer to how I got to working with BELIEVE. And, we get crazy. If anybody follows me on LinkedIn, which I hope that they want to do,
yeah, there you go.
Because I love to interact with different people. Hey, you got it too. Love it.
Got it too.
Love it.
Got it too. Yeah.
And that's sort of like the badge of honor. I think I see more and more people that are very excited. Like the first thing they'll do is show me that BELIEVE coin, and I love it.
Well, it's become your thing. That's your thing, and I think it's awesome that you have found that niche. And I had the opportunity a couple times, and I really wish I could have done more, is with your book club and the other leaders that were in that book club Zoom. I mean, just talking each week about these episodes of Ted Lasso and how they're pulling this leadership qualities and the things that are going on with him out of this show, including myself. I mean, I got hooked. I couldn't wait for the next episode, so I'm sorry. I just kept watching. So
hey, that's okay.
That's just me. But I think that as far as I'm concerned, and I hope I'm not going too far here, and if I am, please tell me, that in the years that we've known each other, that this has kind of been your breakout thing, and it's nice, and it's so nice to see, because as your friend and as a person who's discussed a lot of things with you, to see that breakout moment for you was very, very exciting for me.
Yeah, it really is a breakout, but I really believe that there needs to be more positivity in the policing, in in professional policing. We always see people on the very worst day of their life. You know, you have experience as a firefighter before becoming a police officer, and you understand that there's a difference between when somebody from the fire service shows up and the reception that you get now as a police officer. And I think that they need to see us as we are truly, you know, we're not Derek Chauvin.
Right.
We're not all these people that they see on the news that are making questionable things. 99% of us are real human beings that are just mowing our lawn, like I was just mowing my lawn earlier today. And we have friends like you and I. I think back of that when we met in Texas back in March when you were there for another conference there in Dallas. I went and met you, and we were sitting at the bar, and we're just telling our story. And we had someone immediately say, "Hey, I would definitely listen to you guys talk on a podcast about your story. It sounds super interesting."
Right. Well, I think that's because when you get that comfortable with an individual as we are, and kind of get whichever, I think we feel we can talk about anything, and most of the things we talk about are kind of just generally, these are what we deal with on an everyday basis. I mean, it's not most of our stuff isn't even job related. It's just personal related or leadership related or interpersonal relationships or things like that. It's dealing with the everyday thing. It's not really dealing with our work life.
I can't think of a conversation you and I have had that said, "Hey, you've had this type of call for service. How do we handle it?"
Right? Yeah. Like I don't think that's ever happened.
Never have we done that.
Right. Right.
And I think that's amazing. And I look back to a lot of our friends and acquaintances that we jointly have in life, and I can't think of a time when we sit down and have that type of conversation when we're all sitting around having drinks, whatever. We're talking about life and like how can we make our lives better for one another? How can we support one another? That kind of thing. I was super excited about going to that last conference when we were in San Antonio, and the amount of people that I would say were acquaintances that came up to me and said, "Hey, I'd seen your podcast. I didn't know that you were struggling with the stuff that you were struggling with." And it was so inspirational that you spoke about going out and getting help, because it seemed like you were you were fine. And knowing that I have that kind of message, and there are more guys and gals that are like that are keeping things bottled up inside, I feel like it's super important for me to be out there talking about that, being really honest about it, because it's not glamorous. Like they're not making a TV movie about that at all. It was a lot of crying and a lot of sharing with my therapist about some deep dark fears I have in my life and things that were really holding me back.
Right. And that takes a lot. I mean, that takes a lot of courage to do. But as you can see, that's one of the things that I think us as leaders, as people who are out here having this opportunity to have this voice, to tell individuals, it's that catchphrase now, but it means so much. It's okay to not be okay. Like people have to realize that the junk that we deal with, not only on the job, but our personal stuff, they all get mismatched together and just combine on top of each other. And that part of us that people think like, you got to be the strong guy, you got to be like that's not the way to handle things anymore. And I think that message as you related to resonates with so many people nowadays, that they're slowly but surely not afraid to go, "Hey man, I really need some help. Like yes. I really need to take a mental break, and I need to, as I posted I think yesterday, like I need to clean out that metal closet. I mean, I have to go in there and get rid of all that bad shit in my head and readjust myself, because if I keep hanging on to that, it's just going to continue to bring me down, and it's going to make my life worse. I've been lucky. and I consider myself lucky because having a person like yourself that I know that we can sit and have those conversations allows me to clean that closet. And there's no judgment, and there's no backlash on me trying to say, oh yeah, you're just full of crap. No, it's just listening to each other and letting you dump on that. And then if you are wrong, we have that kind of relationship that you can look me in the face and I can look you in the face and go, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now you're just kind of pushing the envelope. Let's get into that a little bit more.
Right. I think that's super important because, like, for me, and just talking about my leadership journey, just in that particular thing is when you're always going into your leadership journey and you want to focus on empathy and your why. If you're in a larger organization or a smaller organization, if you've got people that have been in leadership for the last 10 years, you're going to get major pushback on that, and you're going to get told that empathy and asking why is, you're going to be downgraded as a leader. You're not going to be the guy that they select to run the SWAT team. You're not the guy that they're going to, all these things that historically we put a lot of value on, of being able to look at these specialty teams. And we haven't, I think it's really changing in the policing profession that we need to be more about our people. And our people are the people that are going and serving lunches to inmates. Our people are the ones that are responding to that call for service of that family that is in crisis about a child that might be drug dependent or something. Those are the type of calls for service. Like the amount of calls that we get where we have to go out and have a tactical team respond to are getting, maybe once a week, twice a week,
right?
That kind of thing. Like your agency, have you called TAC team this year for any calls?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, and that there are 18,000 departments around the country. So, and they're mostly under 50 people. So that's the kind of calls that we're responding to. So us as leaders, we need to make sure that we're managing the people and being more about leading people, not managing people. And I got in my head a big time, and I know I've talked to you about this before, of my empathy was probably not the best type of empathy that I was using with people, but I was getting run over by people. I'd have people higher up in command say, hey, that's great. You learned that out of class, but you got to tone it down because you're making everybody uncomfortable.
Right.
And at this point, I'm like, what's wrong with being uncomfortable? Like, I'm just asking you to be a nice human being. If you're uncomfortable with that, then maybe we got a problem.
I think that, it's funny because you lead into something that just, when you're talking, is in my brain. And it's like, there's an American poet, E.E. Cummings, and he said, the hardest challenge is to be yourself in a world where everyone is trying to make you be someone else.
Mm.
And that is kind of to a point of what you're saying. Like when you're at that moment in your life where you're just trying to make a difference, or you're trying. And I think there's another conversation that we had after the cultural and diversity class is, I know you went back with some ideas and some things to do, and people were kind of trying to push that back on you. And I think that's just it, is everybody wants you to try to make you conform to whatever their idea of how you should be. Well,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, in this case, that's what makes us different. That's what makes things so challenging, and I think, make us all that puzzle piece that needs to fit together. When I'm working, or who I'm working with, or if I'm hiring, say, to speak, I mean, I have a small agency. I'm looking for puzzle pieces that fit. I don't want another me. I'm already enough of a jerk to be sometimes
Right.
and have to be that guy that has to be the, I guess I say quote the mean guy, but you know what I mean when you say that you have to be the higher up in charge that has to say once in a while, no, we can't do that. But you also have to be able to have those people in place that know that you're open to having another voice come in and go, hey, I have this idea.
Yes.
I think that this may be a chance for us to in some case say, hey, we're having problems with this group. Maybe it's juveniles. Like this is something. Maybe we can do this or do this in the community. And some of them go, the heck, why you can't do that? Like, and you look at them and go, that's very, I mean, disheartening for us if a leader is telling you that because you're feeling like, well, I'm just trying to help.
Right.
And I think that is also a change is needed, and what's changing in policing is that you, and anywhere really, I mean, that you need to take some of that information and not necessarily do you have to use it all, but at least acknowledge it.
Yes.
And give it its due and have that conversation. Maybe part of that idea works. Maybe not the whole idea works. But I think that saying that hardest challenge is to try to be yourself where everyone wants you to be someone else. They want you to be what they want you to be. And you know what? You just have to have that courage. And I use courage now because that's kind of what it is to sit there for yourself and go, no. Like,
yes.
We could agree to disagree, but you're not going to put me down like that.
I think that's where true bold comes from. The whole name, everything, unearthing the true boldness within, all that stuff that true bold is about if we think of authenticity and being our authentic selves, and we think of it as a magnet. And I don't have a magnet to show you, but we all know from our time as using magnets sometimes will attract things, and then they'll make things that don't attract to them. They'll repel things.
Right.
So if you and I are out there being just like this, there are going to be people that watch this podcast and say, here's another two bald dudes with glasses talking about nothing in their basements, right?
Right.
So they're going to be those people, but then there are going to be some people that are like, wow, this is earth-shattering stuff, and I'm glad that I'm not the only person in the universe that has these type of conversations in my head and with my friends. Right. So from that standpoint, we need to understand if we're being authentic, and I think when I'm talking about authenticity, I'm not talking about EQ. Like this is EQ plus. Like you clearly know you're very comfortable with yourself and your own skin. You're doing what it needs to do. You're taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally. You're taking care of all those things, and then you're being you're being who you want to be, and you're either going to repel people, which is fine. Like that's just helping you not have to deal with things that are not a thing that you need to deal with. And then you've got people that are going to be attracted to you. And the law of attraction and law of abundance are two laws that I really lean on a daily basis. So we wouldn't be having this podcast if we didn't think there were going to be viewers.
Right.
Because there are millions of viewers out there that want to learn about different people and want to listen. They don't want to do their own podcast. We need to think that there's an audience for this podcast. There's an audience for Deep Blue. There's an audience for True Bold. We just need to be in that and understand. We just need to continue to take steps forward on a daily basis.
Right. I agree.
And be our authentic selves.
I agree. And being that and that's just what this is. And there's a funny thing that when I was developing kind of the background for Deep Blue and I was making the logos, if you want to call it. Mm-hmm. I decided to put unscripted on there. And someone had asked me, like, why are you putting unscripted on? Well, because I'm not sitting here, reading off of a piece of paper. Like, we're going to have this conversation, and wherever this conversation goes, that's where it's going to go. And I think that that's what gives that authenticity, as you say, to what we're doing. It's kind of just like me and you sitting at the bar in Dallas and just having that conversation where we had person sitting right next to us going, just listening and being like, oh, I'd like, just like you said, I'd watch that.
Right.
You
listen to that.
So my I guess my next point is I want to kind of dive into that for a moment and spark one of those conversations again with just this question. Do you believe, and there's that word again, that the one biggest challenge that we have in life is to not be what everyone expects us to be?
Oh yeah, 100%. I believe that, and especially in policing, we're there to be marginalized as human beings. And if you think about it from that standpoint, we put on a uniform, so we're also like, you and I are not wearing uniforms right now. We take on a persona when we put on that uniform. But that's no different than somebody that works at Apple or Google or anything like that, or a brokerage house or wherever. They put a suit and tie on. That's probably not what they're lounging around with in their house, and not the way they are on the weekends. So, we believe that we've got to be. The world is just set up to marginalize us. Advertising, all these things. I mean, a lot of it's social control. So we spend our money and make sure that we feel happy by the items that we acquire. I'm not at that point. Like I have some really not, like, I love that board, but that board is not giving me happiness.
Right.
Like I'm happy when I see that, but I was not happy at the price tag that I paid for that.
I feel the same way with the one, and you saw the one that I got done in. And I did the same, and after I got it, I'm like, it's beautiful, but my God.
It's a beautiful piece of art.
Yes.
And if we went to if we went to a art fair and we bought a piece of art for our house or our office or whatever, it would be fine. Like that. Like, there are things that make us happy because we're purchasing those things.
Right.
If you think about advertising and how the world is today, they don't want us going deeper than 180 characters, and they want us spending money as fast as we earn it.
Sure.
So we are in a society that they want to marginalize us or give us the maybe a blueprint on how to make ourselves happy. And really the blueprint to make ourselves happy is controlling this and understanding that our brain is not there to make all our decisions for us. Like, we have intuition, we have all these other things going on inside us that helps us make up those type of decisions. So that's there's not a blueprint for life. There's not a blueprint for happiness. And we need to understand that we shouldn't. If we want to work a part-time job because we want to have 4 days off of the week and go sit on the beach all day long, and we're okay with living in a 1-bedroom apartment, what's wrong with that? Why does that make us less marginalized than you and I sitting in our houses that we pay thousands of dollars a month for, and are struggling to pay off because we want to retire one day? We look at that person and go, man, they got something going on. Like, that's very cool that they're able to go out and live on a beach in Costa Rica, or go, do whatever, like move to Thailand, name whatever weirdness thing that people have as goals. For a long time, I wanted to move to Costa Rica and just live on the beach. I mean, that sounds very cool to me. It still feels very cool to me, but I would miss the interaction of people, and I want to bring happiness to people, and that's why I'm trying to be the most positive person out there on LinkedIn, primarily LinkedIn, and any of these podcasts that I do. When I'm out there, I want to show people that it's okay to be positive.
Sure.
And
I think that I'm with you there, because I think that people look at the people that wow, they're always putting, the positive thing is something that's catchy. I used to be such a negative person. I mean, throughout my life, and a lot of that negativity, it just, you don't realize it until you actually start kind of changing what you're doing, to realize that negative, when you start that day with that, oh God, here we go again. It's just, your whole day is just going to be that way. And it's that way with every interaction that you have with anyone. And it's not crazy being positive, and being positive doesn't mean that you don't have bad days. It doesn't mean that you don't have negative things that happen. It just means that you try to look at them in a certain way as to not infect or affect everybody else around you with that negativity. And man, I'm going to tell you, I got to be over. I used to have times when I'd walk into work and my guys would say, "Stay away from him today, man. You can just see it in his eyes." And you go, do you really want people to think that? And until you really get that self-awareness of yourself, like, you don't realize it. You think it's okay. But once you stop doing that, you see that difference. And you see the people around you change what they're doing or change their reaction to you. And I think that positivity is what helps kind of start that off. It doesn't mean I'm not walking around here like Bozo the Clown with a big smile on my face 24/7. But am I enjoying, my life now better than I was before? Oh, 100%.
Look at how, as you say that, I think of this example, and I think you and I are a good example of this. Think about where we were when we met in Fort Lauderdale in 2020, and that event that we were at.
Right.
And where we were on our social status.
Very true. Very true. Very true.
Okay. And then you look back just a few weeks ago when we were there together, and we're at the at the 2024 version of that event.
Right.
I think you and I have had a very positive change on that. Like, I was shocked the amount of people that were like, "Hey, they came up to me because I missed last year."
Right.
Where they were like, "Hey, I'm so glad that you're here," and but I think that we both are seen as positive people, like almost to a fault with some of those people that have been there for a long time.
Right.
And I think positivity goes a long ways. And I see that every year we go, we have a larger group of positive people.
Well, I think that has a lot. I think that has a lot to do with and we're going to have more of these together. So as you can see, guys, if you're watching this podcast, we can go off on a tangent in any second, talk about something. You're like, what were you talking about? And boom, we're just off somewhere else talking about something else. But that's what kind of works with this relationship, and how we kind of see each other, and how we kind of mold off of each other and what we do. And that positivity part of it, a lot of that for me has come from you. And I greatly appreciate that, because I know that I can bounce things off of you and you'll tell me the honest truth about whatever I'm talking about, because you have no problem telling me, "Hey, Chris, you're just totally off base." And that's what people need. And that sometimes you need that person to be able to be that person for you.
Well, I'll switch I'll ask you this question. Why do you think you got to that point where you would allow me to have that voice in your life?
Well, I think that because we shared a lot of the same things with each other, there was a lot of vulnerability between us as we got to know each other better, and having that courage to truly trust someone with any of that information, that's the hard part. That is the part to find, because we are so, as human beings, we are and as public servants, we're so guarded about everything that we do.
Mm-hmm.
We're so guarded about having someone get so close that they can turn on you in a moment, and you just have it. This job or this profession instills that negativity in you that you're just very wary of anyone.
Yes.
So being able to find that person that you truly know, is that colleague, is that confidant, is that person that you can have those conversations with, is what opened that up. And I think as we built this relationship that we have over the years, that has grown and grown and grown.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what that is. And I think, and I wish that for other people, because it's truly liberating to be able to, I think everybody needs that person. Everybody has to be able not to dump things on, but just to have that unload of stuff that they've built up in their consciousness over years and years and years and years.
Yeah. And I think it's important for the listeners and the viewers to understand this about you and I. And this is not two guys just getting on here talking about our very close relationship with each other. We both desire to have attract as many people as we can to be part of our group.
Yes.
And be part and enhance our voices and bring in different perspectives and people that don't look like us. Like, we want people with hair in this, to talk to. We want people.
Well, you got a little more than I do. So.
Right. I haven't cut my hair for the week, so I got a little bozo going on. But that's the thing is, for a long time I desired to have a mentor, and what it took me is sitting in front of my therapist, and my therapist look at me and go, Matt, why aren't you being the mentor that you want? Why can't you be your own mentor? You have all the skills and tools to be able to do that. Why do you not have enough confidence in yourself to mentor yourself? And you know what? Once I started doing that, people that I would have said that I would have no access to, or would not feel comfortable being, like, I would feel small in a room with them. It very much is, I'm on equal footing with them now because of that understanding. And a lot of them, I think we co-mentor each other.
Yeah.
Where we're able to, because, we have different ranks. You're much higher than I am in rank. But I have people that are lower ranked than myself that reach out to me. And I feel like that's a mentoring relationship as well.
Right.
Because they're telling me things about what they're experiencing in life as doing that job right now. And just like I can share with you up the chain. And I guess that's where it comes down to is, we can be victims and say, hey, I didn't ever get the mentorship that I ever wanted, so that's caused me not to get to position X that I really wanted, or reach whatever goal that I had set out there. But it's all right here.
Right.
It's all right there and right here on how we want to. It's our head and heart. I gotta make sure, because it's probably going to go on where people are listening to it, so they're not going to see me point to my head and my head. It's a brain and a heart issue.
No, I get it, and I'm with you there 100%. The biggest reason is just, as you said earlier, and I think we're gonna come full circle and kind of wrap this first one up, because I know we can go on forever. In what we do and what we talk about. But I think I'm going to leave it with that part. Yes, that's the reason for Deep Blue. And that is the reason for True Bold. And that is giving others that courage and that confidence to say, hey, why can't I do the same thing? I can, and just as you said, it's finding that voice, it's finding that mentor, and somewhere down the line, I'm going to have a cast but I'm kind of going to start it for those who have not read it. I just finished a book called The Courage to Be Disliked.
I just downloaded it. I saw that you put it on
Awesome.
And I'm like, I'm going to download it on my Audible. I'm going to start listening to it.
Awesome book. I recommend it for anyone who is in that kind of stage where they just have that interpersonal thought that nothing ever goes right for them.
Mm-hmm.
And to figure out just what you said, it's not anybody else's responsibility. And I don't want to ruin the book for you, but I'm going back to what you said is, and you'll see this as you read it. And when we do that podcast, I'm going to wait till you finish reading that, and we're going to have this conversation on this book, because it's about that heart and head thing, and how much all of this is a product of ourselves. It's not anybody else around us. It's the way that we look at things in our own personal relationships, in our own personal ideas. And how we react to those things, good and bad,
right,
that make us do certain things. So, Matt, I thank you very much, my brother. It is so nice to see you.
I love talking with you, Chris. I love it, and I'm excited for you. I'm also proud of you to take the steps to make this thing happen. And can't wait to see what other guests you have on and what other conversations you have. I'm going to be listening every week, and I'll be putting these links out on my socials to make sure people can get out there and see what you have to say.
And I too appreciate it. You can follow Matt. You can find him on LinkedIn. You can find True Bold Leadership on LinkedIn. I highly recommend it. Matt is going to be getting out on the road here soon, and I'm looking forward to his class that he has developed, because I know that much of what you heard here is resonated in those classes, and him taking his life lessons and the things that I know, and I'm not ruining anything for anybody here, that he has a message that is truly inspirational as far as I'm concerned. And you'll see Matt a lot here on Deep Blue, because as you can see, we can talk about anything. So I can't wait for the next episode to come up. And I can't wait till the next episode with you, my friend. So,
all right, man. Well, I look forward to seeing you in person soon. And also, man, I'm so glad that this has started, and I'm honored to be your very first guest.
Hey, I couldn't think of anyone else I'd rather have here sitting talking to me and kicking this big thing off. You're a big part of it, my friend. So you take care of yourself, and we'll see you again down the line.
Sounds good.
See you, my friend.
See ya.
You've been listening to the Deep Blue Project. As a father, husband, friend, and someone who loves to chat about anything and everything, Chris brings over 3 decades of public service experience to the table. With a background in firefighting and law enforcement, along with degrees in criminal justice and behavioral science, he's seen it all, and he's learned a thing or two along the way. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on LinkedIn and X at Deep Blue Project. Find our website at deepblueproject.com. And to reach out, send an email to deepblueproject@outlook.com. Keep keeping it real. And we'll see you next time on the Deep Blue Project.